Hello Art One students, this is the introduction to your repetition with variation project. This is a contour drawing and shading project. We are combining these two techniques together. So these are your project objectives, and of course this is going to take place over the course of many class periods. You're going to create a series of contour drawings of an object by referencing a found photo and organizing the drawings to show a sense of repetition with variation. We're using observational drawing skills when sketching the reference photo, such as looking at the positive and negative space and noticing the various shapes within the photo. We're applying the use of pencil shading to render a contour drawing into a 3D object using a variety of values of gray. We're using a blending stump and smudgy to create smooth shading, and we are demonstrating excellent craftsmanship with the drawing materials, such as maintaining the cleanliness of the drawing papers, avoiding random smudges of pencil, and using the art supplies in a neat manner. Now there are three important words for this project. The first important word is repetition. It is related to rhythm, which is a principle of design. Basically, we're using similar elements like shapes, colors, and lines multiple times in an artwork to create unity, rhythm, and emphasis. So in this example of this painting by Pete Madrian, while there is no pattern, there is a sense of repetition because of the repeating rectangles and squares. Yes, they all follow a very controlled color scheme, but as our eye goes through the artwork, right, it follows it in a certain direction. In this print by M.C. Escher, what's creating the repetition are the same shapes of this lizard, but notice that the position of the lizard is all connected and they're rotated a certain way. This is an example of a tessellation. In this pencil drawing, and it includes shading, the shapes and the use of value creates a sense of repetition. Also, there's no pattern in this one. In this example, this is a sculpture installation by Japanese artist Yayoi Kusama. What creates the sense of repetition are not just those giant balloon forms, but all of those red dots that are filling that entire room. This is a print by Andy Warhol. This is a print of Marilyn Monroe. While her face is only repeated 9 times, it looks the same except the colors change. Now the second important word is variation. This is related to variety, which is a principle of design. It's the differences and changes in elements, such as shape, form, and line, that make the composition more complex and interesting. In this painting here, we can see a variation of lines. This one uses a variation of shapes. This one uses a variation of shapes. So the third important word is composition. This is the arrangement of the elements of design to create an artwork. So when we look at a painting, a drawing, a photograph, we talk about the composition. How are things arranged, basically? Like, how are the visual elements in artwork placed and organized? So this would be an example of a composition, right? The way that the objects are grouped together towards the middle, but we can see some things on its side and things are going in different directions. So looking at this example again, we can say, well, the flowers are organized a certain way within this composition. They're grouped together in a certain way. We can look at how these shapes are organized, right? These lizards actually fit together like a puzzle. So your composition will use repetition with variation. And there's 2 more examples here. So looking at this example, notice how the artist allows the shapes of the keys to almost flow into each other. Now, there's no outline between the borders, but the student used different tones in the background within each square. And she balanced out these tones of gray evenly, even though they were just individual squares. So in this example, right, we had a reference photo, which was a set of flowers, and the student chose specific squares to draw and then shade. So yes, the shading does rely on outlines. We don't want that. But the artist did use a wide range of values, value of 1 to a value of 10, to help reinforce the organic details and the textures of the flowers. This example does have a lot of negative space, which we want to avoid, but notice how the object has been angled in different ways within each square. And even in this one, we can see different parts of the object within each square. Now there are some requirements for this project as well as some parameters. So you're going to use one of the provided reference photos, or you can find your own photo. If you decide to look for your own photo, it should be of an object. No landscapes, no cartoons, no people. Animal and insects are going to be your best options because they have a wide variety of tonal values as well as different textures and interesting shapes. That photo you choose will be turned into grayscale, slightly adjusted so we can see a range of tonal values. And if you decide to look for your own pictures, I suggest using unsplash.com or pexels.com for a variety of high quality photos. Now, these are some examples of some of the provided reference photos we have. There's a range of textures and forms. So definitely have a moment to look through the photos that are provided because you might want to use one of those instead. You are going to create contour drawings of sections of your photo. You're not going to recreate the entire photo. When selecting your sections, there should not be more than 5% white, which is the value of 1. We should see a range of values of gray, not just one single value in a square or completely black, which would be your value of 10. Each section should be of a different area of the photo, so we're not going to repeat any of those sections. Based on your selections, we should see a variety of shapes, lines, and values. So you can see in this example here, we can see it looks like it's a close-up of an old school telephone. So we can actually see a variety of sections being shown. Now, when you get to the drawing portion, the challenge is maintaining the proportions of the shapes and details in the reference photo when enlarging them onto the newsprint paper. So remember, we're starting with a contour drawing. We're going to look at the squares just as we practiced, and we're going to create an outline. After completing the contour drawings on newsprint paper, we will transfer them to white drawing paper. Then you're going to use your value scale and reference photo again. You will apply shading and blending to recreate those areas of gray. We're aiming for areas of contrast. That's so the darker areas pop out, looks more interesting, as well as recreating different textures that you see in the photo. So these are a few student examples. I would say the shading could be a little bit more smooth, but we do see a variety of parts of that object. So some important notes to keep in mind. We are selecting 6 squares for the composition. We will only see parts of your photo reference, not the entire object. And it's okay if the composition appears somewhat abstracted. You can see that here in this example. We want to create repetition of the shapes and values using variation. In this example here, you can see how it looks almost abstracted. That is okay. Now, how is your project going to be graded? We're going to look at the contour drawings. Did you capture the positive and negative space, the details, the texture, the shapes? Does the contour drawings accurately match the reference photo proportions? Very, very important. As well as the creativity of the arrangements of the squares. Do we see a variety of shapes, values, and lines? We're also going to look at the use of the value, shading, and blending of pencil. Do we see a range of tonal values? Do the values match what we see in the reference photo? Do we see a value of 1, which is the whiteness of your paper? Do we see a value of 10, which is created using an ebony pencil? Does the shading use contrast? Are outlines visible from the contour drawings that you started with? And of course, I'm grading your project based on the craftsmanship of both artworks, the contour drawing, as well as the final work that is shaded and blended. Did we take care of the paper? Did we use the art supplies neatly and properly? What is the quality of our shading like? I'm going to demonstrate the next steps so you can actually get started. So for the first steps is you will select your photo. If you decide to find your own photo, it will be prepared for you, and your photo will be printed out in black and white. You will also need a viewfinder. This is a tool that we use often in drawing to be able to block out areas of our vision in order to focus on what's within the composition. And this is already cut out for you and prepared. Now, when we are selecting our squares, we want to think about repetition and variation. How can we show a sense of rhythm, things repeating, but how can we show a variety? So when we are choosing our squares, we're looking for a variety of shapes, values, and lines. Choose areas that look interesting. We shouldn't see no more than 5% of white. That is the value of 1. Now, there are some photographs that might not really have any areas of white. Please do not choose areas that are all one type of gray. For example, this is a no-no, right? This is completely all one area of gray. This also is a no-no. this just doesn't have enough in this section, right? There's not enough in there. I'd first search around, look for something that's interesting. Now, if you want to go with the obvious, right, this is the front of the butterfly, we could do that. If your photograph has parts in the background, that will need to be included as well. This is not interesting enough, right? We don't want to go outside the composition, obviously, and we don't want to go to something like this because we don't even know what that is. So if I were to go ahead and choose sections, right, I could do the middle if I want. But again, I'm thinking about creating different areas of value. So I'm going to select this spot. Using a pencil, I'm going to carefully outline my square. Now let's look for something different, right? Maybe I want to go in a spot right here. Just what do I want in these corners, right? These are things you're going to have to think about. Now you could decide to use some of the background, right? Obviously the background on this flower is black. So I've chosen my 6 areas. This is what you'll need to show me before you can move on to the next step.